what is self-awareness exactly? You really have to know your own strength, your own weaknesses, your own triggers, your own patterns. You have to know what kind of makes you excited and what drains you. You
Yes.
have to know kind of helps you recharge when you are drained, and you also have to know the people that help you
You
recharge.
also have to know, be aware of like how you appear to others.
Sure, I guess that's important.
Because I think a lot of the times when I've met people who are not self aware and it's like very obvious, they immediately start like oversharing or like doing things that are like making other people uncomfortable. And we're not talking about people who can't control that.
Sure,
We're
sure, sure.
talking about like big self awareness.
Right,
But just like think about like how what you are saying and doing around others makes them feel.
right, right.
Okay, so here's another thing. When I think of self awareness, I kind of think about like mind muscle connection. Because you
Okay.
know how, like, when you're doing an exercise, you have to like engage that specific muscle, like you're doing hip thrusts or whatever.
Mhm.
You have to like
Yeah, yeah.
keep your back straight. You
Mhm.
can't like curve your back. You can't just like think about like how the exercise looks and then do that.
Right.
You know? Like if you're doing a crunch,
It
you
has to
can't just
be.
think about like lifting up your body and like doing a crunch. You have to
Mhm.
actually think about engaging the muscles
Right.
that you want to work.
Think about how it's supposed to look and how it's supposed to feel.
Yeah.
And if you're not feeling it in the right areas, then you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so I feel like self-awareness and mind muscle connection, like there's like a similarity there where like they kind of have the same vibe in my head.
But how do you put those two together? Explain that to me. I don't see the connection there yet.
You don't see the connection? I guess it's just like being conscious of like every part of what's happening.
Okay, sure. Rather than just focusing on one specific point that you're trying to make. Kind of like
Yeah.
that? Maybe.
And it's also about being able to like course correct and
Mhm.
identify, like I feel like if you're self-aware, you can like name the problem and then find a way to correct the problem using what you know about yourself, like you said, like your own strengths or
Mhm.
skills or whatever.
Right.
But you have to have that awareness to identify the problem in the first place because like you can't improve something if you can't name it.
Mhm. It's true. Being self-aware is also very important to know your own weaknesses.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
it's just about growth.
Growth, and you can't really grow as well unless you know your own weaknesses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's also part of being humble, I think. You won't really identify your own weaknesses unless you stay a little bit humble. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the song.
Yeah. Totally like the song.
So let's think about like if you find yourself in a situation that you put yourself there, like your own choices, but maybe you didn't realize what you were doing. Like you just did it because you thought you were supposed to do it. Because I feel like some people, like I feel like college is a big example
Mhm.
because a lot of us are just told like college is the next step after high school. You're
Definitely.
supposed to go to college, right?
Definitely.
So if you're told, yeah, after high school you go to college. And then let's say you're like 17, 18, your brain's not fully developed. You go to college and then you're doing it and choosing your major. They're like, "Oh yeah, well, like what are you good at? What are you interested in?" And then
Right.
you're like, "I don't know. I'm good at like
Science.
yeah, like
Good at
something random."
oh, language arts.
Yeah,
Sure.
language arts, right. So you just like start doing something because you think it's what you're supposed to do.
Mhm.
And then you become self aware. Let's say you're like 20, like your brain is developing until you're like 25. So at some point, if you're not self aware before college, you're gonna like start to get it.
Yeah.
You're gonna start to get it. And then you might realize you're on the wrong path.
Mhm.
And like that's not for you.
Right.
And then at that point, like you have to think about like you as a person. Like, what do I actually want? What brings me joy? What are my strengths?
Mhm.
Not just what is expected of you.
I think another big one is people go into it thinking, what can I do that makes me look more successful? And what can I do that makes it so I can live a stable life financially? What can I do that will be the safest idea financially? A lot of those are things that people consider, especially when they don't really evaluate themselves. They more just think without thinking internally.
There's a lot of privilege in being able to think that way.
That's true as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's important though because like there's obviously a lot of privilege in being able to think like what do I want versus what do I need.
Mhm.
But I think it's like self-awareness isn't just about what do I want, like what am I good at, but like what will make me feel whole.
Mhm.
And like I feel like stability for a lot of people is part of that.
Well,
Like
yes,
feeling
of
whole,
course.
right? Maybe you're not able to do what you love, but you're able to do what completes you.
My take on money episode, I talk about how money can actually buy happiness, but only to a certain extent. So it can buy happiness when it comes to food, shelter, security, safety, like healthcare. But up to that certain point, once you meet all of those, if you're not happy with yourself internally, you're not going to be able to use money to help you get any further.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to finding out what people want to do, they think a lot of people think the goal is usually make money, make the most amount of money.
Mhm.
And even though they might reach that point of that max spot, completing you have plenty of food, you have your shelter, you have all the things that you need, the basic things.
Mhm.
They still want more money and that just becomes the goal, but there's no real meaning behind that. Especially in the US, I think this is a big thing, how the goal is just to make the most money, but there really isn't much meaning behind that for a lot of people because the money is just it just ends there. And there's a lot of situations when once you get all of that, it's like, well, what now what? Because that really isn't going to be what fulfills you. It's not just the money that's going to make you happy or fulfill you as like you said, your person as a whole.
Mhm.
It's the things that you value in your life that you can put that money towards that are going to make you feel more like yourself, more whole as a person to really put that into your own values.
Yeah.
And I think that when it comes to deciding what you want to do, bringing it back to that, if you are making the money that you just need to fulfill those basic requirements in your life. The only reason you would need more is to give to the values in your life.
Hmm.
But if you are doing something already in your life that completes those values, then making more money really isn't necessary.
Doing things because you think it is what you're supposed to do. You might be really bad at what you think you're supposed to do. So then what do you do? That's when you have to course correct. You have to name what is wrong and figure out what you're good at and what you can do differently. To share my experience, this is like a low stakes situation, but something that I realized not to get into like AI, but like ChatGPT, like talking to ChatGPT can kind of like help you with some like
Sure.
maybe not like self-awareness, but like make help you realize some things, right? So like have you talked about like using AI to like help you like
No,
structure goals and stuff?
we haven't had a episode on that.
Well, I feel like that's actually a really useful tool
Mhm.
because like there's even ads now where it's like, "Oh, hey ChatGPT, like help me like create a fitness routine for
Oh
me
yeah,
to do
definitely.
XYZ
Definitely.
within a certain amount of time."
Yeah.
Whatever. Use it to help you do anything. We already talked about how I'm a PhD student and I don't have a lot of free time.
Mhm.
But there's things that like I wish that I could put energy towards.
Mhm.
And I kind of like had to realize that like, oh, my strengths are like I'm really good at my job right now.
Mhm.
But there's also things that are important to me like health, wellness, well-being, fitness, things like that are like falling through the cracks.
Sure.
So, I guess like being self-aware, I had to like realize that.
Mhm.
Because if I was only focusing on like what is expected of me, then I would be doing my job to the best of my ability and nothing else.
Right.
But I want to be able to like put some energy towards like taking care of myself. So I decided let me like set some goals, create some like habits that I want to reincorporate or incorporate for the first time into like my daily or weekly life. So I started doing that and I was like setting weekly goals and I was realizing that on a week that I set a weekly goal, I was missing the goal.
Mm.
But on a week that I didn't set a weekly goal, I actually exceeded my original expectations of myself. And
Okay.
so that structure, like me being the person that I am, like very type A, I like structure and I thrive under structure, but it turns out that I collapse under expectation.
Sure.
So I don't really set goals. I set goals a
Mhm.
lot, right?
Right.
And I am pretty ambitious as a person. And so I will set a goal based on like how I'm feeling. Like let's say I'm setting a goal for the week. So like Sunday night, I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to read 100 pages of this book
Right.
this week."
Mhm.
Right? And Sunday, it's the end of the weekend. I had like a relaxing weekend. I'm recharged.
Mhm.
But then I go to work Monday and Tuesday. I'm like, bro, I can't keep doing this. Like,
Right.
I need to come home and recharge. There's no way I'm going to be able to read 100 pages of that book. And then just because I set the goal, I am actually harder on myself and I end up doing less than if I would have just not set a goal in the first place.
Right.
If I would have, like you said, think, I want to be able to come home and
Mhm.
relax by reading a book instead of, I'm going to read 100 pages this week.
Right. In the episode when I talked about setting goals and marking accomplishments, that's another thing where, like you just said, you set the goal that you want to read 100 pages, right? I think what could have helped you a little bit as well as not just saying maybe the part of going to relax by reading this book. That of course could help as well because that shifts the mindset a little bit, but also by saying when and where you are going to read the book really puts in your head a good idea and sets that time set in stone. It's more likely that you're going to do it if you know exactly where and when. So
Yeah.
if you said, every night I am going to read 20 pages in my bed at 10 p.m. right before I go to sleep, then it's more likely that you might actually do that
Yeah.
because right at 10 p.m. you're going to think, oh, here's my goal, and this is the time when I do it.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to say, for the week, I'm going to read 100 pages, and by the time Sunday comes around, you've pushed it back until Sunday
Yeah.
because you're like, oh, I can read those pages tomorrow. I can read those pages tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it just depends on the type of person you are because, like, for some people, like, when you just said that, what it made me think of is like, if I get into bed, it's 10 p.m., and
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, I set the goal, it's time to read, and my goal was to read 20 pages tonight. If I'm sitting in bed and I'm like, bro, I'm exhausted, I could probably read 2 pages, but there's no way I can read 20.
Mhm.
At that point, I might just go to sleep and not read at all.
Yeah,
So maybe the goals need to be more flexible.
that's true.
Like, I'm going to sit in bed and I'm not going to scroll on my phone.
Right.
Like, instead of saying I'm going to read 20 pages, you can just be like, oh, look, there's a book there. And I have no option but to go to sleep or
Mhm.
read it because I can't scroll on my phone.
Mhm.
Or maybe you let yourself scroll on your phone because your brain is like, I can't do this right now and
Yeah.
I need to scroll on my phone. And then
Mhm.
maybe you scroll on your phone for a few minutes and then you feel like reading.
Right.
So I feel like the self-awareness is like knowing how to set goals where you will actually achieve those goals and
Right.
maybe not even calling them goals, but just like habits.
Right.
Like
Habits. Small habits or
yeah,
systems even.
yeah,
Mhm.
systems. And then also like something else, as a very goal-oriented person, life is hard enough without making more rules for yourself to follow.
Definitely. Yeah.
So if you're like, "Oh yeah, my goal is to read 20 pages before bed every night," and like that's what I do that and I have to do it. If it's really hard for you, then freaking like change it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's kind of where the expectation thing comes in and like
Mhm.
being self-aware enough to like know when things aren't working for you and then change them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like I mean, we already talked about if you're in college just because you're expected to be there, whatever. Realize that you're doing it just because of an expectation, and then think about yourself and like what you thrive under.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
when I realized I thrive with structure, but if I put too much pressure on it, if I like am too ambitious and there's too much expectation, then I kind of just drop the ball and I do nothing.
Right. Yeah. And that's another thing. I mean, like you said, with the college, not everybody really thrives in classroom settings. Not everyone thrives with learning through teaching and words just being projected to them. Some people thrive better in real life situations. Maybe college isn't the route. Maybe it's actually going ahead and starting a job or starting a certification or hands on, doing hours of something hands on internships where you don't actually have the college aspect of learning, but you just learn hands on. And I think, especially if you're more of a extroverted person, usually that's something that is comes more naturally to you. You tend to learn better in hands on experiences and experiences where you can just learn by doing rather than learn by someone telling you.
Yes.
And I think also, even if you are in college and you realize that this is something that is meant for you, maybe college is your route, even though it is expected, you also want to do it. But at the same time, maybe not all the ways that they are teaching you in college fit you as a person. You have to kind of be self aware to develop your own teaching mechanisms, your own styles to help you learn. I actually personally had a class where my professor wasn't teaching me the way that I needed to be taught, needed to learn. So I stopped going to the class. I taught myself the lessons the way that I learned best, and I ended up getting an A on the final when I hadn't gotten A on any of the past exams before that. So really it comes down to not just sometimes you really might not be bad at a subject. You might not be bad at the class. You might just need to learn in a different style than the teacher's trying to make you learn in.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so maybe we should think about like if you're in a situation where like something isn't working and you identify that something isn't working, like what do you do next if you don't know what to do?
Mhm. You don't always have to just get out of it.
Yeah.
You can use different strategies. You can use different
Yeah.
techniques. Maybe the answer isn't just drop the class, or maybe the answer isn't quit college, drop out. Maybe it's finding a different technique in the way that you are learning. Or even if it's in a job or an internship, that something doesn't seem right. Of course, if it really doesn't seem right and you've tried other things, don't stay in it because that might really just not be for you. But if you haven't tried other techniques yet in learning it and getting it, you can always try asking more questions, talking to more people.
Yeah.
You can try different techniques when it comes to doing the actions that you are shown. Maybe you find a better way to do something, maybe a more productive way that suits you better to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish.
Mhm.
And you can still make it work even if it feels like it's not working in the way that it's taught to you.
Yeah. And what I was thinking was like just all of the resources that are at our disposal all the time.
Mhm.
Like, okay, just having the internet, like, you can literally look up anything at any time, and you can find those strategies. You can listen to podcasts like
Yeah.
this one that might be helping you find those strategies. You can talk to people, of course, but, like, a lot of people like, there are a lot of things that you can teach yourself. Like you just said, you taught yourself your class.
Mhm.
You probably had a textbook, right?
Right.
But
Mhm.
also, you probably use the internet,
Yeah.
like, just Googling things, like,
Yeah.
thinking about, like, what doesn't make sense, and then just, like, looking it up.
Mhm.
I think that you can teach yourself a lot just by having the internet.
And using your resources that are
Yeah,
given to
using
you.
your
Yeah.
resources.
Yeah.
Because really, like, knowledge is not about what you know, it's knowing
How to
how to
use it.
find it.
How to find it, how to use it,
Yeah,
how use what you have.
yeah.
Definitely.
That's actually really important in my field too, because when you're doing your PhD, you have to do a defense at the end, which, like, a lot of people know about, but you also have to do a proposal in the middle-ish, kind of towards the end, middle, which I recently did, and it's really kind of, like, stressful and challenging because you have to present on, like, what you're gonna be doing for your dissertation and prove that you know your stuff, and then there's kind of like a mini defense where if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like, well, it's really what it sounds like because you are defending that you are the expert in a
Mhm.
certain field. So, like, in your field of your dissertation, you are the expert in that. So, no matter what questions you are asked, you should be able to answer them.
Right.
So, that's really stressful. But if you think about, like, when people ask you a question, you might not know the answer immediately, but you're like, "Oh, that reminds me of this thing I read
Mhm.
in this paper or this textbook or
Right.
whatever, or this person who knows that information. I can get that answer in 5 minutes if I need to."
Right.
So, like, knowing where to find things is really important.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
even if you don't know where to find it, like, just know that, like, you can figure out where to find it. Like, you have
Yeah.
so many resources, all of us do, right at our fingertips if you have a phone or an internet connection.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're listening to this podcast, then you do.
Probably,
Yeah.
unless you're, like, in an Uber and your Uber driver's listening to it. But if you got in the Uber,
You
you
probably
probably
have
have a
internet
phone.
to order that Uber. When it comes to figuring out yourself, though, I do want to talk about that because it's so easy to just say, oh, you need to know your strengths, your weaknesses, you need
Yeah.
to know all these things. But how do you actually figure out all those things about yourself? I mean, you have to do quite a lot of self evaluation to figure all that out. And sometimes we don't really have the brain power or the time to self evaluate every single day, every single week. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't have motivation to journal their thoughts, journal to self evaluate every single week. So I think there are some questions that you can just ask yourself, and they don't even have to take long, they don't have to be mind draining. They can just kind of help you realize things about yourself like throughout the week. Maybe you just ask yourself what worked for me this week when it came
Yeah.
to making yours being more productive, or maybe even just relaxing. What worked for you relaxing? What worked for you to recharge your battery when you were drained? What
Yeah.
worked and what didn't work as well? Because, of course, you need to recognize what's not working in order to eliminate those things,
Yeah.
eliminate your weaknesses in that way. What didn't really work when it came to a productivity strategy you wanted to make, setting those goals, like you said, you noticed that this goal of I want to read 100 pages a week wasn't working for you because it was a little bit too strict. It was
Yeah, too ambitious.
too ambitious, too demanding, and it needed to be a little more accustomed to your schedule.
Mhm.
Because of course you can have all these goals set in your week and your month and your year. You can say I want to do this, I want to do this, but I think the best approach honestly is to evaluate your current schedule and your current life, what's working
Yeah.
and what's not working. Develop habits into your schedule that are going to help you. Try
Yeah.
them out. If they don't work, change it. If they do, keep it going. And staying consistent with that as
Yeah,
well.
and I think part of that too is, like, working with yourself instead of, like, fighting yourself. Because here's an example, like, one thing I I have a trouble relaxing if, like, my house isn't clean, right?
Oh, yeah, me too,
So, if
definitely.
my kitchen's not clean, I'm like, "Okay, I just got home from work, the kitchen is a mess, but, like, I need to relax, like, I
Mhm.
need to just sit on the couch and tune out," right?
Right.
But I learned that I literally cannot do that.
Yeah.
So I will be sitting on the couch relaxing, but I'm not actually
And
relaxed.
there was a quote on that relaxing.
Yeah,
Yes.
because okay, here's
Quote
the thing.
unquote.
Relaxing and resting is productive
Mhm.
because literally you're
Definitely.
recharging your batteries.
Definitely.
But if you are relaxing and your body is still tense and your nervous system is still wired
Mhm.
because there's something bothering you that's
Yeah.
not actually
You
letting you
still are
relax.
technically a little too overstimulated
Right.
to relax.
Right.
Mhm.
So, like, I was kind of fighting that because I was like, "No. No, I should be able to just relax
Mhm.
with the kitchen a mess. I'll clean it later." But it doesn't work.
No.
So then, like, letting yourself take 10 minutes to clean the kitchen,
Might just be worth it.
yes. But then, okay, there's another side of that coin because, like, some people, they might think, like, I don't know, if the kitchen is a mess, I don't deserve to rest until it's clean, even if they are able to relax. Then you have to give yourself some grace there and say, like, I'm gonna let myself fully relax and, like, set a timer and then clean the kitchen later. Like,
Right.
if you can't, like, basically just it's about working with yourself and, like, figuring out, like what you can actually do and what you have control over versus what you don't.
Yeah. That's the same honestly with me. I mean, sometimes when I get home from work and I walk into my house, if something doesn't smell right, doesn't look right, I'm like, all right, this needs to be done before anything else. But of course, there's different types of people. There's people that can clean and then relax, and then there's people that want to relax first and then clean.
Yeah.
So it really does. It depends on who you are.
I think that kind of comes back to, like, life is hard enough without making up more rules. Like, if you really can't do it, it's not the end of the world.
No.
And, like, if you have people in your life that care about you, they will understand. If you're like, "Bro, I'm sorry. I can't today. I need to recharge."
Right.
You also have to, like, know how to communicate your needs to people in
It's
that
true.
sense.
That's a big part of it as well. I think something important to note is that self-awareness is about honesty, it's not about judgment.
Mhm.
If you judge yourself for things that you're not doing or not getting done or even mistakes that you're making, then you're going to have a harder time growing and changing from those things. It's just about kind of noting what you did, noting what you didn't do, noting what worked, and then changing that and acting on it. Or, staying consistent with it if it's something that did work. And being shameful of it is going to make that harder.
Yeah. I think a strategy to prevent the judgment and, like, shaming yourself is you are thinking about what you're doing while you're doing it. I kind of feel like you're more likely to judge yourself. Like, reflecting on things later, you might realize, oh, that was like a really hard week.
Sure.
So it's okay that I missed my goals.
Mhm.
That's kind of what's been happening with my, like, goals that I was setting when I was like, okay, literally I set a goal to do XYZ this week and I
Mhm.
failed it. That's annoying because it's Thursday and I haven't done things that I wanted to do. But then, like, a couple weeks later, I had a better week
Mhm.
where, like, I met more of my goals and then I looked back and I was like, "Oh, I was doing a lot of my PhD work that week and I was really, like, having a hard time relaxing and whatever." In the moment, I was judging myself, but, like, reflecting on that, I was able to actually think what worked and what didn't work.
Yeah.
And what didn't work was that I was being too ambitious. I was setting the expectations too high and I wasn't, like, giving myself the grace to just like be.
Yeah. It's important to just be sometimes.
Yeah.
Just go with the flow.
But you have to like know that what you're doing is hard. Like what like life is hard enough. Like we're all doing hard stuff. So like if you know that what you're doing is hard, then you
Don't need to add any extra hard things in there.
yeah, don't add extra hard things. And also like if you want things to change, you're walking upstairs, you're not taking an elevator. Like
Well, yes.
little changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like little changes at a time will go a long way. I feel like if you're not ready to take the elevator, it's gonna fall. Then you're gonna die. An elevator crash.
I didn't really get that one. That kind of just flew by me because I thought we were taking the stairs.
No, we're saying you should take the stairs.
Yes.
Because if you're like, okay, you want to get up here. You want to be this person who eats 5 servings of vegetables a day or XYZ exercises every day, blah blah blah, reads books. You can't just like do that.
Right.
Because
it's
here's
gonna
the thing.
fall apart. It's gonna fall apart.
You can't give 100% to all of those things. If you're giving 100% in your job because either it's a really hard job or like you have to work overtime to make ends meet or like whatever you have to do, if you're giving 100% to that, you can't also give 100% to being like the healthiest version of yourself.
Yeah.
It's just not possible. Something is going to drop to 50% or even 20% or whatever it is. But you can go for a 10-minute walk in the morning or a 5-minute walk in the morning.
Yeah.
Or even just step outside your front door and then walk back in.
There's
like you can do really, really small things.
Things that give and take.
Yes. You can do really small things that eventually, once they become a habit, you might be able to do bigger things.
Yeah,
or maybe you don't do a bigger thing, but like you started doing a small thing that helps you feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, in the Atomic Habits book by James Clear, I mentioned that in the last episode as well, but in this book he talks about how some of these habits that you want to start, you can start by just doing the very, very minimum first step. If you want to make a habit of going for a run, maybe every day after work or every, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday, whatever you want to do, you honestly, all you have to do first is just make the habit of putting on your running shoes. Putting on your running shoes, tying those up. Don't even go for a run. Maybe the next week after you've done that 7 times. Then you put on your running shoes, you walk outside, you walk down your driveway and back. You jog down your driveway and back. Then a few weeks later, you do more. And once you get to that happy point where you feel comfortable and you don't need to do anymore, then you've got that habit already in your schedule, and it's it works. It's part of your routine then, and it doesn't have to be running a 10K every day, but it's maybe just going for a light 5-minute jog, whatever feels better for you. But once it's incorporated into your life, you can kind of tweak it how you want to and extend it or shorten it or however you want to do that.
So now you get what I meant by the stairs versus the elevator.
Yes.
The elevator would be, I'm going to run a 10K every day.
And then you go
outside and you start running a 10K, and
Right.
then you literally die because you've never run before in your life.
Right. You crash and burn.
Yeah, and then that's the elevator falling.
Mm-hmm.
But then the stairs is like you just put your shoes on and then you walk and then you jog and then run.
Exactly. Yeah. Stairs. We're on the stairs. We're not on the elevator.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. I appreciate you all for being here. And if you enjoyed, please rate the podcast 5 stars on Apple or Spotify. Leave any comments or reviews. And if you are watching on the YouTube channel, please subscribe, like, and comment there as well. It really helps the podcast grow. Also, if you have any family members or friends that you think could benefit from this episode, We don't gatekeep here. Please send this to them and they may thank you later for it. And lastly, if you would like to be featured for an interview or even just like a talk like this one, you can send me an email at the email linked in the podcast description or shoot me a DM on the Instagram at findyourpower_podcast. I will talk to you guys again soon, and don't forget, we will find your power.